What would you do if the most powerful man in the room looked right past you like you were nothing? My name is Leona Trent, and at my brother's wedding, his future father-in-law, Gregory Rowe, glanced in my direction with the kind of indifference that wasn't just cold, it was calculated. He didn't smile, didn't nod, didn't even blink. He walked past me like I was a coat rack. I stood there, tailored suit, sharp hand wrapped around a glass of champagne I hadn't touched, calm, poised, watching. Because unlike him, I knew something important. Gregory Rowe, CEO boardroom tactician, the kind of man who probably gets his initials engraved on his socks, had spent the last 6 months trying to acquire a startup he thought was anonymous. He didn't know it belonged to me. He had no idea that the platform his own company quietly relied on was something I co-founded in the shadows while building my life from rubble and raising my brother from the wreckage of ours. But of course Gregory only saw what he wanted to see, a background figure, an extra, a woman in the wings without a name tag that mattered. And honestly, I let him. Because what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I was on the speech list. Someone had added my name without telling me, and when I took that mic, the way Gregory Rowe looked at me would change forever. His eyes would shift, his jaw would tighten, and his illusion of control would finally crack. But that's the thing about people like Gregory. They love surprises until they're the ones getting them, and I was about to deliver the biggest one of his career. But before we get to that moment, you need to understand what brought me here. How I got from a college dorm floor with nothing to my name to standing in a ballroom across from the man who tried to erase me. They say grief is loud, but for me, it started with a silence so deep it felt like the world forgot to breathe. I was 22 when the call came. Finals week. I was still in my college hoodie, barely surviving on caffeine and ramen when my advisor's voice cracked through the line. "Leona, I'm so sorry. Your father. There's been an accident." He was gone. Just like that. No goodbye. No final memory. 1 minute, he was planning a weekend trip to visit me and my younger brother Milo, and the next I was driving 5 hours home to a town that suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else. We had no mother to call. She'd reinvented herself years ago with a new family, a new life, and no room for us in either. So it was just me and Milo, 2 orphans. 1 old car, and a future we hadn't asked to rewrite. He was 17, 1 week away from his high school graduation, and I'll never forget the way he looked at me like maybe I could fix this. But I couldn't. Our father had been self-employed. What he left behind wasn't comfort, it was chaos, debt, missed payments, business liens. He must have tried to shield us right up to the end because we didn't know how bad it was until the funeral ended and the letters came. They took everything. The house, the car, his workshop. All I had left was a duffel bag of clothes and a financial aid package that covered tuition but not rent, not food, not Milo's future. That night, we sat on the floor of a relative's guest room, the last one who hadn't slammed a door or sent a lawyer. Milo was hunched under a hoodie, hands shaking. I realized then, no one else was coming. I was the only adult left in his world. So I chose. I dropped every excuse, every selfish dream I thought I had. I picked up night shifts at the campus cafe, day shifts as a courier. I studied on the bus, memorized formulas between deliveries, and learned to live on 4 hours of sleep. No one clapped, no one cheered. But every dollar I earned kept both of us fed. I lost my boyfriend that year. I lost my health. I lost the luxury of falling apart. People love to say things like, "You built character." No, I built survival. In overdraft fees, in frozen pizza, in silence. But I looked at Milo and I knew he still deserved a future, even if it meant burning mine down to give him one. And so I did. I didn't walk across the graduation stage. There was no party, no champagne, just a quiet email confirmation that my degree had cleared and a job offer that promised one thing: stability. It was back-end ops at a mid-sized logistics firm, low glamour, high burnout. But it paid enough to move Milo and me into a 1-bedroom apartment. He got the bedroom. I took the couch. He started community college. I started managing spreadsheets for people who didn't know my name. At night, I cooked dinner, even if dinner was canned beans and half a bag of rice. On weekends, I caught up on sleep, if only for a few hours. But I never stopped watching the horizon. While others scrolled TikTok, I was deep in online courses, automation data systems, SaaS platforms. I didn't know what opportunity would come, but I swore I'd be ready when it did. And it did. A rainy Thursday evening inbox, nearly full exhaustion pressing against my ribs, and then I saw it. "Hey Leona, remember me, Felix Marin? I've got something you might want to hear." Felix was an old classmate, brilliant, chaotic, entrepreneurial in a way most people only pretended to be. He and a friend were building a prototype for automating back-end processes in medium-sized firms, exactly the industry I was drowning in. He needed someone who could stabilize the chaos pitch clients and quietly make things run. I should have said no. It was risky. It was underfunded. It was everything I wasn't supposed to chase. But I said yes, because for the first time in years, something inside me lit up again. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I was the quiet cog in someone else's machine. From 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., I was building my own. We worked out of borrowed cafes and spare bedrooms. Some nights, I fell asleep with my laptop still glowing on my chest. Money was non-existent. Stress was the currency. One co-founder quit after 6 brutal months. Felix and I barely held on. But then, it happened. A mid-tier corporate client ran our pilot and reported a 40% reduction in processing time. They told 3 more firms. Suddenly, we had traction, real traction. A review dropped on a mid-sized tech blog. Our inbox exploded. Demo requests came hourly. I wasn't just coding anymore. I was leading systems, resolving bugs, onboarding users, managing back-end, scaling all on $0 marketing dollars. Still, I didn't quit my day job. I'd learned the hard way how fast the rug can get pulled out. So I saved every single damn penny. Felix became the face TEDx Talks, interviews, handshakes. I stayed behind the curtain, on purpose, because while others chased headlines and hype, I was chasing something rarer: security. I didn't want applause. I wanted Milo to go grocery shopping without checking his bank balance first. And eventually he did. He got into a state university, on merit. I paid every bill, on time. We had health insurance, working appliances, emergency savings. That to me was luxury. No one saw it. No one needed to. But I did. I watched Milo reclaim his smile. I watched him become more than a tragedy. And I stayed hidden. Because sometimes power grows best where no one's watching. It was a Tuesday night, and I was eating cold pasta straight out of a Tupperware on the couch, still in my work clothes, one eye on a bug report, when Milo called. His voice was excited, shaky, almost too casual. "Hey, Leona. I need to tell you something." I assumed it was about class, maybe an internship or a late assignment. What I didn't expect were the next words: "I'm getting married." My fork paused midair. To Evan. We've been serious for a while, but I didn't know how to bring it up. I'd met an Evan once, passing introduction, nothing serious. I'd never heard the word marriage come up. "Are you okay?" I asked. He laughed nervously. "I'm more than okay. I'm happy. I just wanted you to hear it from me. And he wants to meet you." That last part made me sit up, because anyone who wanted to marry my brother, the boy I raised, protected, shielded, had better want to meet me. I wasn't just a sibling. I had been every role that mattered when no one else showed up. We agreed on a dinner that Friday. Casual, no pressure. I offered to cook. I remember the door opening. Evan stood there, flowers in one hand, a bottle of red in the other, his smile a little too perfect. Polite, charming, polished. But something about his last name made my brain itch. "Rowe," I said slowly as we sat down at the table. "Any relation to Gregory Rowe?" Evan paused just long enough to register. "He's my father." And just like that, the puzzle snapped into place. Gregory Rowe, CEO of Rowe Enterprises, industry shark, one of the loudest, sharpest voices in enterprise tech. He'd spent the last year quietly circling our platform, trying to acquire partner or absorb it. Every email he sent dripped with backhanded praise and masked condescension offers wrapped in superiority, as if he were doing us a favor just by showing interest. He didn't know I was the one he was chasing, and now his son was sitting in my kitchen. I didn't flinch. I didn't mention the company. I didn't even blink. Because this dinner wasn't about business. It was about Milo, and if Evan was sincere, I could find a way to make peace with the rest. Later that night, Milo caught me alone in the kitchen. He went quiet for a bit. "Everything okay?" I studied his face. His voice wasn't worried, it was hopeful. "You really love him, I do," he said. "He's not like his father, he's kind. He listens." He looked older than I remembered. Calmer. Surer. I nodded. "Okay," I said. "Then I'm in your corner." And I meant it. Even if the man waiting at the end of that aisle was Gregory Rowe's son, even if the shadow of his name stretched across everything I'd built, because if there's one thing I'd mastered, it was navigating around men who underestimated me. The family meet and greet was held at an upscale country club, all white tablecloths, crystal glassware, the kind of place where everything gleams and people like Gregory Rowe expect to be the brightest thing in the room. Milo asked me to attend. I said yes. Not for the setting, not for the speeches, for him. I walked in alone, minimalist black dress, low heels, no labels, clean, elegant, controlled. Gregory spotted me immediately. He scanned me like a resume. Shoes, hair, posture, then dismissed me without a flicker. When we were formally introduced, he offered a handshake so limp it barely registered as touch. "Oh," he said flatly, "you're just her sister." I assumed her mother would be here. There was a pause. "Our mother left a long time ago," I replied. Tone even, a blink of acknowledgement. Then nothing. He moved on like I was wallpaper. Later, the inevitable question came delivered with the trademark Rowe detachment. "And what is it that you do again?" That tone, that searching investor sniff, looking for pedigree, status, leverage. "I work corporate," I said simply. Which was technically true. He didn't press, didn't care, and I didn't give him more, because he didn't deserve it. When I told Felix about it later, he just laughed. "You realize this man is going to have a stroke when he finds out who you are, right?" I smiled. "Let him think I'm no one. It'll make the truth louder." The weeks flew by. Wedding prep took over Milo's life. I stayed involved from a distance, funding things, quietly coordinating a few key pieces behind the scenes. I didn't need credit. I needed calm. Then the day arrived. Milo looked radiant. Not in a loud way, in the way someone looks when they've survived the storm and finally get to stand in the sun. He gripped my hand before walking down the aisle and whispered, "Thank you for everything." That alone was worth it. At the reception, I stayed low profile, avoided the spotlight, smiled, toasted, nodded politely. Then I saw Gregory flanked by two other high-tier guests. He brushed past me again, didn't pause, didn't nod. It was deliberate, a choice. And I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, just the quiet realization that he still didn't know. Didn't know who I was, didn't know what I'd built, didn't know how much of his empire ran on systems I helped design, and that was fine, because fate had a sense of humor. Moments later, a catering staff member tapped my shoulder. "You're next. 2 minutes. Next for what? The mic. Speech." I blinked. No one had told me I was speaking, but someone had added my name to the list. No warning, no cue, and I could have declined, should have maybe. But something inside me, some mix of fatigue, pride, and quiet calculation whispered, "No. You're going to stand up. You're going to speak, and they're finally going to see you." I buttoned my jacket, walked to the mic, and took the room. The mic was warm in my hand. The ballroom dimmed just enough to make everyone look up. I didn't clear my throat. I didn't fumble for a note card. I just began. "Good evening. My name is Leona Trent. I'm Milo's sister." That caught their attention. I paused, let it breathe. But I wasn't just his sister growing up. After our father passed unexpectedly, I became his guardian, I was 22. He was 17. We had no other family. The air shifted. Forks paused. Glasses lowered. Our mother had moved on long before, so I did what I had to do. I finished college while working multiple jobs. I paid rent, cooked dinners, filled out his FAFSA forms, and held it together on 4 hours of sleep. I lost things along the way, relationships, rest, whole pieces of myself, but never him. I looked at Milo. He was crying. Not hard, just a steady, grateful silence. And he made it. Because he's brilliant and kind, and because he let me walk beside him even when I didn't have all the answers. Then I shifted gears calmly, almost casually. During those same years, I also co-founded a software company. Some of you may even use our platform. We're quietly embedded in dozens of major firms. We started with nothing but code and coffee shop Wi-Fi, and today we support some of the biggest enterprise systems in the country. Now that landed. I saw heads tilt, brows rise, the whispers ripple through the room, and finally, Gregory Rowe turned toward me, fully. Like a man waking up in a room he didn't realize he was sleeping in, I let that silence stretch. But I'm not here to pitch you. I'm here to honor the one thing I've built that matters more than any software or client roster. I turned to Milo and Evan. What you two have is rare. Trust, partnership, joy. I see it, and I honor it. And I'm proud to stand here not just as a sister, but as someone who believes in both of you. The applause came slowly at first. Then it filled the room. But I wasn't waiting for it. I stepped down, walked back to my table. Only I didn't make it. Gregory Rowe intercepted me, his expression unreadable, his hand extended. "Leona, was it?" he asked. That was quite a speech. I shook his hand. Firm, controlled. "Thank you. You're the co-founder of..." He paused, searching. "Yes," I said. "The platform your company's been trying to acquire." There it was. His smile faltered. "Just enough." I had no idea. "No," I replied, calm as a blade, because I wanted you to see who I was when you thought I was nobody. He didn't respond. He didn't have to. I gave him a tight, polite nod. "Enjoy the evening, Mr. Rowe." And I walked past him. Felix raised his glass at our table, said nothing. We clinked, and that was that. The rest of the night unfolded like magic. Milo danced freely. Evan was gracious. Gregory stayed civil, but quieter now, more careful. He'd seen the truth, and it had rearranged his posture. But I hadn't said everything, because I didn't need to. We never sold the company, not because of spite, not even because of Gregory. His offers were polished, but they came with the assumption that everyone had a price. I don't. Felix and I stayed independent. We scaled smart. And yes, Rowe Enterprises still licenses our software. His employees submit tickets like everyone else through the same portal, answered with the same professionalism. We're always courteous, always prompt, never personal. Because some things don't need revenge. They just need distance. Evan never brought it up again. He respects boundaries, and more importantly, he respects Milo. And Milo, he's thriving. He teaches volunteers, bakes bread on Sundays. He smiles in a way he didn't when we were kids, and everything felt one gust of wind away from collapse. That smile is my return on investment. People still assume things about me, that I'm just a quiet woman in the corner, that I don't own the building they're standing in, and that's fine. Let them. Because here's what I've learned. The ones who dismiss you when you're silent are the same ones who scramble to respect you once they know your title. But by then, their respect means nothing. True respect. It shows up when no one's watching. It's not a reaction, it's a decision. Gregory Rowe's mistake wasn't underestimating me. It was assuming being unseen meant being unimportant. I've never needed the spotlight. All I needed was to make sure Milo would be okay. And now he is. That's more than enough. Have you ever been overlooked by people who thought they knew your worth? Drop your story below. And if Leona's journey spoke to you, like, comment, and hit subscribe. Because this is just one of many stories where silence isn't weakness, it's power.